All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Atlantic Strong podcast. Tonight, I'm here with Nick Chapman, who is last week's guest's twin brother. On Instagram, they're Powerlifting Twin 1 and Powerlifting Twin 2. So, Nick, glad to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me on. It's good to finally get to speak with you there.
Yeah. So those of you who don't know, Nick, like his brother Lucas, also trains and competes as an equipped powerlifter. Competes multiply equipped and trains conjugate, and we're going to talk about that tonight. So, Nick, how you making out?
Good. It's been nice up in Grand Canyon, in Alberta. So we've had a couple nice days, a little bit of snow here and there, but I really can't complain.
Yeah, it's been good here too. We've had 5 degrees, 6 degrees today and yesterday, so can't complain about that.
No. So yeah, it's been. I don't know. Luke said that I was questioning him about a couple things that he talked about, and obviously I watched his interviews, so I was trying to speak on. I'm probably going to try and speak on points that he hasn't already, right? So
perfect. So, well, let's start at the start. When did you start lifting weights, and when did you get into competing in powerlifting?
Well, I think competing for me started around like 8 years ago, I do believe. I did start out like raw, like anyone else. And from there, I just got really interested in equipment. And I didn't want to be one of those guys who, like, because raw takes a long time to get better and to learn and to grow, right? And a lot of the times there's a higher chance of you getting injured when you're training raw because you're handling maximal weights like just on your body and there's nothing to support you, right? So sometimes it beats you up harder and it takes longer to get better. So as a fast track, I've seen guys squatting in briefs, using bench shirts, stuff like that. So I was really interested, and they were adding hundreds of pounds to their totals, right? And to their lifts. Little did I know that the amount of time and effort and like different technique they had to use to get to that point, right? So
just to give the listeners an example of where you can go over a long period of time, like 8 years competing. Do you remember what your numbers were your first competition and what your numbers were your last competition?
I think my first competition, I squatted like, I don't know, maybe 350. I don't even think I benched 225. And I think actually the first time I competed in deadlift only. So my goal for that one was like to deadlift 500 pounds. I think I pulled like 507 or something like that, but very low in terms of where I'm at today.
Yeah, I've got so your last competition was in BC.
Yep.
Western Canadian Championships for the WPC.
Yep.
So Nick squatted 749 and a half, benched 534.6 pounds, and deadlifted 639.3.
Well, the squat's wrong though. The squat's supposed to be 805.
Oh yeah. So
yeah.
you missed your second attempt at 788 and then hit 805.
Yeah.
So that there's a 50-pound jump between your opener and your third. That middle squat, the one that you missed, what happened there? Was that just a technical issue?
It's just technique, really. Like if you go back, and I posted the video of my whole competition, right? And at the bottom of my second attempt, my hip shifts, like I do believe, to the right, and I don't sit back in my suit, just that hair, and that's it, right? That small little error caused me to miss my whole lift and have no power in the hole. So
yeah,
it just goes to show you stuff like that. Like in equipment, you're a half an inch to the right, or you don't push out hard enough, and there's no coming back from that.
Yeah, I was listening to Bryce Krawczyk, Calgary Barbell, is doing a podcast now with a couple other IPF lifters, and he was talking about how when you're lifting raw, you've got the weight is pushing down on you, but that's about it. When you get into equipment, you've got all this force coming at you from basically everywhere around your body, and it's that much easier to lose position and that much harder to fight back into a position if
Yep.
you miss groove or whatever compared to raw lifting.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like from anything from, I find the hardest thing to do is from the top. If you don't, say in a squat, right, you don't pick the bar right on your back, or you're not tight enough, you might as well just rack it. There's no way, especially in equip lifting, whether you're squatting and whether you're benching, it's the same way. Deadlift, not so much, but you get out and you get into the wrong groove with a shirt or with a suit on, you might as well just rack it. There's no point of even doing that lift anymore. You're not set. You're not going to get any pop or anything from that suit or shirt, right? So
Yeah, I was talking to your brother. I've been squatting with wraps a little bit lately, and to get under the bar, like even to just have um, the extra thing to think about getting under the bar, because once you get the wraps on, getting under the bar and getting set is harder than with just sleeves or nothing. And
yeah.
just having that extra thing to think about and to pull my focus away from the weight on the bar is not messing me up, but it's definitely more difficult. And I'd really like to get into a pair of briefs or a squat suit here soon and feel what it would be like with everything.
Oh yeah, there's lots of stuff out there, right? And I think the biggest thing with like getting into equipment or getting into wraps is the fact that like you have to take stuff slow, and yeah, you're going to be able to add like pounds on your squat, but you have to slowly get into, you have to slowly add weight. And sometimes people, because it does take time, like you got to focus on your knees pushing out, because your knees are going to track in if you don't think about pushing them out, right? And how you wrap them, how much that material is behind your knee is also important, and how many revolutions up, how many revolutions down, where you tie them off at, right? All those things come into play now.
Yeah, I've had I think I might have posted the video on Instagram, but I did have a wrap pop on me. Uh, I was doing a double, and I had a wrap pop on me after the first rep. But it was the first rep was not a weight that I couldn't do without anything on my knees, so I just did the second rep anyways. But that was
Yeah.
definitely kind of a scary feeling, hitting the hole and having the wrap pop.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like I'm
But
glad it.
sometimes like at least like that little bit of death and that little bit of like, I don't know, wraps popping off. Like you see it sometimes with people benching too, right? Like if you don't let it bother you, you'll be fine. But the moment you let it like get to your head, that's it, right?
Yeah,
I've only had that like twice that's happened to me with knee wraps, but hasn't been catastrophic, that's for sure. But it's definitely an eye opener.
yeah. I think it was the first time I was really trying to do the wraps. I was doing not nothing crazy. I was doing doubles with 550,
Yeah.
and that was the last set with the wraps on, and it popped off. To give people an idea of how much you can or can't get out of the equipment. Do you know what your lifts right now raw are versus your last competition lifts?
Oh, like last time I could beat it wrong?
No, like your raw
Or just
lifts
like my
right now. Do you have
competition?
a general idea of what you
Oh
could do
yeah, yeah.
raw right now?
Yeah, because like most of the time, like I do train a lot raw too. Like that's the biggest misconception. I do speed squat in my briefs and I do pull in them, but any other bench work, most of the time it's raw. I'll put my shirt on like every 3 weeks, but every other time is raw. My squat's probably like 500 maybe, 500 with wraps, bench. The last week I did 405 to a one board, and pull, I don't know, maybe 635, 640. So still pretty respectable, right? But
Yeah,
I mean, you definitely see where I gain in the squat and I gain a lot in the bench, right? So
yeah. It doesn't. The deadlift. When you see guys that go like Blaine Sumner, when you see Blaine Sumner who can squat 1100 in a suit and bench 900 in a suit, but
yeah.
he's not getting that much out of a deadlift suit.
Mhm.
I think he's barely getting over 700 on his deadlift because he's
Yep.
so big too. So even getting to the bar is difficult for a guy that big. But you know the deadlift. How much do you think you actually get out of the suit?
Maybe 20 pounds, maybe 30 pounds, maybe. That's a
Yeah,
big maybe. So
that's
like I like to wear like a suit or whatever or briefs only to keep my, because at that time, like say I'm competing, I'm just wearing it for compression. I'm just wearing it so the fact that it doesn't feel like my hips are going to tear off and it doesn't feel like I'm like so broken, right? It's just trying to hold me together to get to the end.
yeah.
It's never really like I've seen good combinations guys wearing like single ply briefs and then have like a double ply insert fusion on top of that. But even then, you're not getting anything out of it. It's just holding you together. That's
Yeah.
about it.
Um, do a lot of guys just wear the squat suit for deadlifts, or do most people have a deadlift suit?
I've seen a lot of the times they just wear a squat suit, right? Like Bob Merck and those guys have really started to change the way that people look at deadlift suits. It's like, okay, yeah, you're going to have a single ply layer of material, but why not just wear a squat suit? You know, it already fits you. You know,
Yeah.
it's going to be a little looser because your briefs are usually underneath. So instead of paying more money for another suit, why not just wear your squat suit, right?
Yeah, I mean, like for the high quality suits, like I was just looking at single ply gear to maybe get into it, do single ply in the CPU. And a
Mm,
Super Centurion Titan squat suit is upwards of $300, and then the shirt is $300, and a deadlift suit is $300.
yeah.
That adds up quick. And if you could get away with using the same suit for squats and deadlifts, that I think that definitely saved your wallet.
Mhm. Oh yeah, and as long as you, I mean, it'd be a little different if you squatted wide and then tried to pull conventional in a wide stance suit like single ply.
Yeah.
But that would be the only problem you might have. You might have to switch to sumo if you were to use the same suit, or just buy a narrow suit for squatting, and you could use it fine for conventional. That'd be the only problem I'd see.
Yeah. Do you, from your experience, do people get more or less out of the suit in sumo or conventional? Like, or is it about the same? Say you get 50 pounds. If you do conventional, you might only get 40 or 30 sumo. Like, does one style have an advantage in gear?
Not in sumo, I don't think. Not either or is about the same. It's wherever you're the strongest. I've seen conventional pullers put on a suit and be able like pull less, and I've seen sumo pullers put on a suit and pull way less. So
Yeah.
it's just like it all depends on where you're the strongest and if you can get down to that bar without passing out, really.
Yeah. Coming from a strongman, the guy that seems to be super comfortable in a suit right now is Luke Richardson from the UK. I mean,
Yeah.
he's doing sets of 5 in a suit, and he gets to that
Mhm.
bar and he's got excellent technique, no problem. Like he
Mhm.
just posted, I think 815 for 5.
Jesus.
That's ridiculous. And he's 24, 25 years old. Like he was the youngest person to ever total 2000 in the IPF.
Yep.
And yeah, he's I can't even say whether he's getting pounds out of the suit or not, but he's definitely comfortable.
Oh yeah, that's the main thing, right? It's going to be tight and it's going to be pushing on your organs and your head's going to feel like it's going to pop off. But if you can brace yourself down and wedge into that bar, you're going to get as much as that suit is going to give you. So being comfortable with being uncomfortable is probably the best advice I can give anyone trying to get into gear or like practicing learning on how to use it.
Yeah. The other thing too this week was Tom Stoltman from Scotland, strongman from Scotland. He squatted 345 kilos, but he was wearing like super high waisted briefs. Like they almost look like the new slingshot briefs that have come out, like super high waist, long leg, but they were definitely briefs. And yeah, he squatted 345, no problem.
I really like the briefs that come up higher, like are right like under your chest or whatever, right? Because then it almost, yes, it's only supposed to be tight around your hips, but if it's tight around your stomach as well, now you just added another layer, like you're wearing another belt on top of your belt, right? So
Yeah,
I really like it how it's really tight in midsection, right? Because then it adds pounds because you're pushing out on something, but also you have your belt on over top. So you might be adding another 20, 30 pounds because you can brace harder.
yeah, yeah. I was looking at the Titan briefs, and they've got ones that have a real short leg, which would almost be at your crotch, and
Mhm.
that doesn't look very comfortable.
No,
To I'd rather
it's
have
never.
I'd rather have that tight part down my thigh than right up on my hips.
Yeah.
Um, so when you go to compete, uh, your squat, you've got single ply briefs under a multi-ply suit. Is that how you set it up?
No, I have double ply, and I actually ordered myself a pair of the triple ply Titan Super Boss briefs here, so I'm just waiting for those to come in as well. So I'll have right now I have a double ply Inzer like blue material underneath my suit, and then I have a 2 ply Ginny Power Gear squat suit over top of that.
And what do you run for a bed shirt?
I just run an old Super Duper Phenom, a red one that you can't find anymore. The material, they don't make it. They might make it in like the blue or like the darker blue, but they don't make it in the stretchy red like I have. So I'm holding on that shirt for dear life and hoping I don't grow out of it.
On that, have you had to alter your gear for weight fluctuations?
um, Not so much. I usually, if I was to get, when I ordered myself new gear and stuff like that, I always buy maybe one size bigger. And then I'll either send it to Jenny Phillips. She lives in New Brunswick there in Oak Bay. And I'll send her my measurements of me at my heaviest or like where I'm usually fluctuating in between. And she'll custom it to that. I like that way better because then if you start big, you can always go small. But if you start small, like you're going to be stretching that suit with barbells and
Yeah.
putting footballs in the legs and stuff. And that's never a good way to go.
What do you run for deadlift suit?
Right now, I was just wearing the Ginny suit the last time I pulled, but actually Luke has that suit now, so he's been squatting and stuff in it since I don't really plan to compete for a while.
Yeah.
We have this game that we go back and forth. I send him my suit, and I'll probably send him my briefs back to use. And I actually have another black Super Duper Phenom shirt that I bought, and probably going to send it back to him for him to try again.
Right on.
Yeah.
So so you're not in a peak or anything right now for competition?
No, no. I thought about there's a meet coming up the same in BC, May 23rd, I think. I really thought about doing that one, but there's no real, I don't know. There's no real drive for me to get ready for a competition anymore. And it just comes with peaking and with COVID and stuff like that. It's so hard to train in a
Yeah.
commercial setting where you can get spotters and people to help you out, right? So,
Yeah, a training partner of mine, we were talking about there's a WPC meet in Halifax, I think at Renfrew in April. And he
yeah,
was talking about going and doing that raw with wraps. And he said, why would I start a peak for a meet that might get canceled right now due to COVID? And I said,
yeah.
yeah, that's not a terrible way of looking at it.
No.
Um, so you right now in basically complete off season mode, can you walk us through your last week of training? What weights and everything, whether you used equipment or not.
Yeah. So like last week I did my speed work for upper was floor press with the Swiss Sparta versus chains at 60% for 9 sets of triples. And I usually try to do like extensions and then a shoulder movement and then maybe a bicep, and then another tricep. For max lower, what did I do? I think I did good mornings with the safety squat bar. So I worked up to a heavy double at like 500 or something like that with to pins. And then after that, max upper, what did I do? I can't even remember. I think I did 350 for a set of 5. I like to really, especially in off season, I don't always like to bench against bands or chains. Sometimes I just like to do reps for like triples and stuff like that. I'll really add in the volume in terms of that and try to stay away from the bands more, because I find it, I will get stronger from it, but I want to still put on muscle, right? So like a few weeks ago, I took a squat. I think I was like 645 for a set of 5. I'll do stuff like that where it'll put more muscle on me and allow me to like build up strength at the same time. But I'm still in that range where I'm putting on muscle instead of worrying about like singles and stuff like that. I'll do a lot of 5s and 3s in the off season. And then for my speed lower, I did my last week of strength speed, where I'm not so much worried about how fast I move the barbell as long as I just move it. So it was 500 versus strong bands, and then mini bands pulling from the front. And then I did deadlifts versus average bands at 435 for 6 sets of 1, and same thing with squats. So that's pretty much my last week.
Right on. So do you do all your own programming, or are you like your brother and you're getting that from somebody?
No, I do all my own stuff for right now. For off season, I really like to just play around and see what works, and I'll try something for a little while. Like with reps, I find that reps really build my bench press in the off season. So I'll do a lot of those. And yeah, I don't know. I just write my own stuff. I bounce a lot of ideas off my brother and my sister just to see, like, because they'll be straight up with me and tell me what work on, what looks like shit and stuff like that. So they're really right to the point. So and the off season, I don't really see it necessary for me to have a coach to tell me what to do. I just follow my own stuff for right now.
So if you picked a meet and you were coming up on 12 weeks out from a meet, would you then work with somebody for your peaking program?
Yeah. So like the last meet I did, I worked with Brian Hill, a guy out of the States there. He's one of the top level 242. So he squatted 11 something. I think he benched like 7, and then he's pulled like 825. So I've worked with him before. I've worked with another guy out of Ohio, Nick Chapman. He's also really good. He trained at Westside for 5 years. So I really like to look for people who have like trained in spots like Westside, or like have a total, and like their training reflects, like they look like they could help me in terms of my goals and stuff like that. That's what I look for the most.
Right on. So what did you want to talk about that your brother either missed or we didn't touch on with him?
Oh, so like I really think that people need to like start to really learn how to use band tension and stuff like that. That's one of my biggest pet peeves in terms of like guys training now and thinking they're training conjugate and stuff. They set up bands in a way where there's no tension at the bottom, and they think that it magically adds a whole bunch at the top, and give them like false realization of what straight weight would actually be, right? Stuff like that. I think that we just need to either buy yourself a fish scale to say, oh, this is how much it is at the top, or watch older videos like that Louis put out, or people who set up bands like Bob Burke and like these higher level lifters who add lots of band tension at the top, or like set up chains a certain way, right? Like people are really trying to know how to use them, but the concept never goes through in the right way. And then it skews everyone else into thinking like, oh, if I just set up the bands like that, it's going to add a whole bunch of tension and it's going to help me. In the end, it doesn't help at all, right? So
yeah, I will watch every bit of content that Dave Tate and Elite FTS put out on Instagram and YouTube because I love him that much. And something he had said a long time ago really stuck with me. I don't use bands very often, but I do use them once in a while. And he said, you don't, he basically said, the band tension that you're using is
Yeah.
half of what you should be using.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that's how from then on out I took that. And so if I put on, and I'm not using Elite FTS bands or anything, and or West Side bands or just Northern Lights or whatever,
Yeah.
but if I put one red aside on, I go, no, I'll put two aside on, or I'll double them up. Like
Yeah.
whatever my first instinct is for using band tension, I immediately double it because of what he'd said in that interview or whatever.
Yeah, and like even there's another guy who's pretty strong now from the States that trains at Lexington Gym. What's his name? Bruce Mason.
Yeah.
And he really talked about on Instagram like a little while ago, saying how he's noticed him cutting band tension in terms of squat and stuff like that, in terms of bench, and he's noticed an improvement instead of like taking all these big jumps with like 3 strong bands or 2 strong bands, a light band and an average band. He's taken away the band tension and he's noticed his lift has gone up because he's not so worried about how much band tension is on the bar. He's just worried about completion of the lift and how it looks and how it feels rather than band tension. So that's a big thing that people wrapped up on. It's like, oh, there's a lot of band tension, but if you can't move it in an efficient way or your form breaks down, then it's not really helping you at all, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be, forcing you to work harder at the top, but it's not supposed to be stopping you from getting a good rep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but I mean, like that's the thing. A lot of guys like it's like I don't know everything about bands or chains and stuff like that, and I still have to watch how I set them up or like watch other guys set them up. But too many people don't like. They're too nervous to reach out to even people at the gym and say, "Well, can you help me set up these bands?" Or like, "What do you think I should do for this?" There's not enough of camaraderie anymore in the gyms and other places that people can just freely come up to people who have used bands before and they've seen them use bands. They almost feel a disconnect instead of like, okay, this guy knows how to use bands. Maybe I'll just ask him so I can set them up properly and get the most.
Yeah, it's like, you see a lot of Instagram videos of the speed work. And it's like, yeah, obviously the reps are supposed to be fast, but they're not supposed to be so fast that they look like absolute garbage.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you still have to use proper technique in the speed work. And a guy who I always pay attention to when he posts his speed work is Matt Watson from Halifax,
Yeah.
because even his speed work, especially for deadlifts, is super, super, super tight. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's moving the bar fast, but his technique is excellent. Same with his bench speed work. Um, you see those videos of guys just slamming the bar down on their chest, moving as fast as they can. Like, I don't train conjugate, but I don't think that's the point.
No, you're gonna destroy your shoulders and like you're gonna destroy your elbows, and for what, right? You're not
Yeah.
getting anything from it. No.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I was talking about it with Lucas. Like, it's maybe not even the bar speed. It's about the intent of, the intent that you're putting on the lift of, with bench press. I like the old Kaz video where he's talking about lowering the bar slow onto his chest and imagining that his arms are two, like two pistons that are coiling in, and when that bar touches his chest, he just lets go of those pistons. And that's what I think about now when I think about my bench press, especially when I'm doing lighter work and I want to really move the bar, is I bring that bar down slow and I'm thinking about coiling my arms like springs, and when the bar touches my chest, push it out, but not the stuff that you see some guys do on Instagram and YouTube.
When they get all like sloppy and they're coming to the top and they're just like going everywhere, right? Like that's not helping anyone, right?
Yeah.
I really one thing I like is those older videos. If you ever get a chance to watch them, from like Ed Cohn talking about how he gets tight and how he approaches a bar. Like back when powerlifting was, I don't know, not, I mean, even now powerlifting's not big, but it wasn't like yelling and screaming at the bar and getting excited and all this stuff, right? They slowly, they attack the weight, but they internalize a lot of it, right?
Yeah.
So there was no like screaming and stuff. They just got really tight and focused on everything and made the lifts absolutely like lifts back then, like maxes and stuff like that and meets. Guys looked like they could add 50 pounds to every lift all the time. So what has changed from then to now? Just the fact that we get all hyped up and people are smashing their heads off bars and
Yeah, I can't stand the raw shit. I
yeah.
hate it. I hate it with a passion. Anybody that's ever been to a competition with me, I am cracking jokes on my way to the bar, and I'm cracking jokes coming back to the bar. And then I at Eastern Regionals, like my first Eastern Regionals for the CPU, somebody was
Yeah.
up like doing the back slaps on every deadlift. Like there was just a guy that was standing at the front and he was doing the back slaps. And I said, "Don't you fucking touch me. I can't stand that stuff." Like, even playing football and everything, I just looking around like you guys are just wasting energy.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
all you're
yeah.
doing is wasting energy.
If you can't put that energy into just like moving the weight, like if those guys just internalize all that and just force it into the bar, how much better would they be? A lot better, right? Like you, you see it all the time, like new lifters too, because they're watching guys like layer wheels online and stuff where they're yelling and screaming and losing their absolute mind and thinking that that's the way it should be. No, you're supposed to walk up to that bar, yeah, show that bar respect, but at the same time, you're not yelling and screaming.
Yeah, I mean it is kind of a personal thing, and you should do whatever you want to do, but it's not something that I do. Even on big PRs, I don't get too amped up about it. And I just feel like it's a waste of energy. It's a
Yeah.
waste of my focus on what's going on.
Yeah.
Um, and I will, at a competition, I will do my absolute best to especially the guys that are really raw, to make them laugh and break them out of it just a little bit. That's kind of my own little
Because
game I play with myself.
it's supposed to be fun, right? Like when I show up to a competition, it's like the buddies from high school or like wherever, your friends that you all want them to have a good time and just to relax. Like I know I've been in warm up rooms before where everyone's so serious and it's never good, right? It's like people are so serious and just want to beat this guy and not really caring about other people, right?
Yeah.
That's not really the community that we need to build. We need to build something to the fact that like, yeah, you want this guy to beat you and want this guy to do better than you so then you can get better, not the fact that you want this guy to do worse because you're too scared that he's going to beat you, right?
Yeah.
That's not the way it should be. So
Yeah. So I doing that same Eastern Regionals, there was this guy from Newfoundland named Gerald. I forget his last name. I think it was Gerald McCoy. And this guy was big. Like he was
yeah,
400 pounds, huge,
yeah,
huge man. And he went out for the first squat, and whether it was nerves or whatever, he got under the bar. He unracked the bar, walked it out, did the squat, and racked the bar. And the head ref had never said or done anything. Had never told him to unrack, had never told him to squat, had never told him to rack. He went out, squatted, did everything. The head ref had never said a word.
yeah.
3 red lights. and he was in the back and he was beating himself up. And I went up and I said, man, there's something you got to know. Like you're a 400-pound man. You're in a singlet. Everybody here can clearly see your cock and balls. So you at least should get the squat.
Yeah.
You're putting yourself out there like that.
Yeah, exactly.
At least listen to the ref and get the squat. Because he was a huge man, big squatter too. And hadn't heard or whatever, the head ref had not done a thing. And maybe it was nerves, but my first instinct was to try to get this guy cracking up because he was obviously upset.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And I mean, I think he went on to put up some pretty big numbers. I haven't seen or heard of them since then, but yeah, huge man.
Yeah.
So yeah, what else do you want to talk about from your brother's podcast?
I don't know. I'd like to see him like come up here and compete. I think that we should put on like I really tried to get him to come up and compete here in May there, but I'd really like to see more of a showdown of like some of these lifters in the multi. Like I'm out here. Few of us out here, like Zach. I can't remember his last name on the top of my head, and then there's another guy. All us multiply guys are all few and far between, spaced all over Canada, right? I really think that someone should step up to the plate and just host a straight up like multiply meet, or like either do that or try to get everyone's schedules the same in order to like make a meet where guys like Matt and like all these other guys from all across Canada and stuff like that come to one spot and compete, right? Because even like I've seen WPC Worlds and stuff like that in the last couple of years, there's maybe 3 or 4 people who are multiply, right? That's not a real good showing for us in terms of like growing our sport and stuff. So I'd like to see, I don't know, someone step up to the plate and actually put on something multiply where all of us can come out and actually show people what multiply is, right? Because a lot of us won't get the chance to go to the WPO, right? Like you got to be the best of the best to get there. And I know that like Sarah's going there, whatever, for the qualifying meet, right? And she'll put up a good total. But at the same time, that's one out of how many of the rest of us are all in Canada, right? We almost need to band together a little better and do something about it, right? So
yeah, and I think on the single ply side, the CPU side, or the IPF, that's something good that they do where they'll have equipped nationals and equipped worlds. Like they'll have only equipped competitions. And I think for showcasing the sport, that's a great thing because you don't have a nationals with 1,000 lifters and only 100 of them are equipped. You've got equipped nationals and everybody there is competing in equipment. And it's a good time to hop on that live stream and watch only equipped lifters and see what's going on.
Oh yeah, I know, because like with the WPO coming back and stuff like that, and people like actually jumping more into equipment, a lot more people have been asking about, oh well, how do you get in and like how do you do this? And a lot of us, right? Like I try and be as good as I can for people asking questions like, what do briefs do? What does a shirt do? What can I get from it? This and that, right? Like in the end, I want to grow the sport in Canada for like not only like raw, but also equipped, right? Like gone are the days where you show up to like a commercial gym or there's powerlifting gyms around Canada, right? They're all few and far between, and there's no more crews that all train together, right? They only seem to be in the States, like Dave Hoff and his crew and stuff like that train at the doghouse there in Ohio. But even like Elite FTS, there's only a handful of them there too, right? Where there's not as many of us as there was before.
Yeah, it's like everybody's got to get together and decide that they're going to disperse to every powerlifting gym in Canada and be the equipped mentor at each gym.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at what your brother and your sister have got going on now at being able to train every Saturday with the Watsons and Catherine once in a while. That seems like to be the optimum environment for quick powerlifting, is to be able to get together at least once a week with 4 or 5 other equipped people and help each other and
Oh,
work on
yeah.
stuff. But that's it's just not popular enough here. Like there's nobody,
No.
like there's only a couple guys in New Brunswick training equipped. I know that RJ Forbes, the president of the New Brunswick Powerlifting Association, I've seen him getting a shirt once in a while.
Yeah.
Another executive from NBPL, Pat Stadler, I've seen him getting the gear once in a while, but it's just not popular here.
Yeah, I remember when United used to be open there in Moncton,
Yeah.
and they would train there all the time, right? It was great because I was there, those two were there. At least I could bounce ideas off, and they were definitely asking questions like, how do I make this single ply shirt work? Like, where am I supposed to touch? Like, how do I do the sleeves? Because a lot of those shirts, like, some people think single ply is easier, but it's not, because you can put your hands double overhand like this and put the shirt on that way. You can put your palms up and it completely changes the shirt, right? What's that big guy's name that just broke the record? I can't remember what his name is. Kobe something or whatever. The guy, he regularly benches like 1,000 pounds, like for like triples and stuff like that. He's in Titan gear all the time.
Oh
He's
yeah.
taken a couple people from the States and just put them in a shirt, and like even his knowledge about it, right? It's huge. That's what we need. I know he only does bench only, and that only applies to a few people, but at the same time, it's growing the single ply and multiply, being like, how can someone bench that much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean the bench press, the raw, the single ply, and the multiply bench press have just reached astronomical levels now. Like Julius Maddox benching whatever it was, 781 or 782
That's crazy.
raw.
Yeah, they talked about his opener. Like his opener looked like 135, and I was like, this guy's gonna bench 800 today. Like, there's no way he doesn't.
It's just watching the progression of that raw bench press record is fascinating. Like you look back at Kaz benching 661 or whatever
Yeah,
back in the 80s, and then Spoto and Mendelson came along, and then
yeah,
now Julius Maddox. I mean, what, and Josh Bryant being the youngest guy to bench 600, and then
yeah.
he's training Julius Maddox, and Julius Maddox looks like he's going to bench 800 raw.
Oh yeah. Well, like Matt Wenling started to help Julius Maddox too, and you can tell like Matt Wenling did a lot of like stuff on West Side, like bands and stuff, and like really more conjugate, but like worked really well with raw guys. And his bench went from like sloppy at the Arnold to like the competition he just did. Like it was smooth, it looked effortless. But I like how he ended the meet. He ended the meet with what, 780 or whatever.
Yeah.
But he was good for 800 for sure. But he is now smart enough to realize like it's got to be a perfect day. Everything's got to feel weightless. Like you got to slowly add those pounds on, right? Because he tried 800 at the Arnold. Look what happened. He got sloppy. He was out of position. It could have been there, but why risk injury, especially when you're getting up weights like that?
I mean, the potential for injury with 800 pounds in your hand is just, we're not, at that level, we're not talking about dropping 3 plates on your chest. You're talking about dropping 800 pounds on your chest or on your neck, or, or a spotter tries to grab it and they get hurt. Like this is real time life and death. So watching guys like Julius Maddox, who now know, okay, I can just chip away at this 5-10 pounds at a time and stay healthy and stay relevant and still progress, as opposed to trying to send that 800 pounds on maybe not the best day, it's, yeah, everybody wants to see him bench 800, but I want to see the guy stay healthy and,
Mhm.
not have a devastating injury and never bench again. So it is nice to um,
Yeah.
see that these guys are thinking about the long term, because a lot of these records, a lot of these things are not even a matter of strength; they're just a matter of longevity.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like clearly, these people, these super freaks, are built to do what they're doing. So if they can just stay healthy,
Yeah.
they're gonna do good.
Yeah, well, I like to compare it to the fact that like all these like people from whoever trained at Westside, like you look at Laura, she's still lifting. Like, yes,
Yeah,
she's not doing what she used to, and she doesn't look the same. But at the same time, she's not broken. She's not like Derek Kendall. You ever hear of him again?
no,
Remember, he was like one of the first guys who squatted like 950. It was like a race from him and Dan Bell for a while there for the first to squat 1,000, and then he squatted 950, squatted 975, dropped off the face of the earth. Never seen
yeah,
him again. Like George Lehman, the same thing, right? Guy was trying to chase Benedict Magnuson's 1,000-pound deadlift. No one knows where he is anymore. He's non-existent. I like it teaches. I like multiply, and I like the way that some of these raw guys are doing it, where like longevity is the main goal, not doing as much stuff as you can, getting as high as you can, and then fizzling out, right? It doesn't show good for the sport.
yeah. Like I mentioned, I mentioned last week or the week before about Ray Williams. Ray Williams comes out to a USAPL nationals and chips his own record with by 5 or 10 kilos, and everybody's kind of disappointed. But you're like, yeah, but he's walking away from the meet with he's won the meet and he's beat his PR and he's healthy. Like
Yeah, exactly.
you want these guys to come out and kill themselves for powerlifting for nothing. For
Yeah,
they had to,
exactly, dude.
they had to pay their own way probably to get to a national meet. Like,
Yeah,
and
it's not worth it.
no, and going back, I saw Powerlifting North America was had posted, what's more impressive, Steffi Cohen's, 619 or whatever it was, deadlift versus half Thor's 1,102 pound deadlift, like which is more impressive. But there's a third option. It's Benedict Magnuson's 2018 raw is clearly more impressive than both of them put together because Benny's the GOAT and that's the best deadlift that's ever happened on the face of the planet.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yep.
1018 or whatever, 1018 or 1021 raw on a
Yep.
day that I wasn't even supposed to compete.
Yeah, and you watch that video and he looks, when he rolls it into himself and holds it for what, 3 seconds or 4 seconds at the top, like people don't understand like how strong you need to be just to hold it for that long,
Yeah.
let alone get it off the floor, right? And he just holds it there. He's just like, sets it down slowly. Yeah.
Yeah. Benny's the GOAT. Thor's all right. Eddie's all right. Steffi's all right. Benny's the GOAT. That's the heaviest raw deadlift. That's one we should all be talking about all the time.
Mm.
Everybody can stop arguing. Benny's the GOAT.
Mm. Well, like a lot of times too, like look how long he's been lifting too and competing in strongman, right?
Yeah.
Halfhorn had to take a break. Steffi Cohn is doing like boxing and stuff like that, had to take a break. Benny's been doing it for what, 20, 25 years, almost 30 years?
Long
Like,
time, and I think he's kind of out of it now. Injuries caught up to him. I know he's
yeah,
looking at his Instagram. He's lost some weight, which is good because you can't be that heavy for as long as he was. But
yeah.
I'm just being facetious because some of my training partners still like to think that Thor is the GOAT, but they
It's
forget
just
about Benny.
it's just like a new candy or new piece of powerlifting gear comes out, right? Everyone wants it, and they forget about the people who like paved the way, right? So
I mean, the deadlifts that are coming out of strongman, like yeah, they're it's straps, it's a deadlift bar, it's whatever, but the deadlift, the way the deadlift has progressed in strongman as a lift
Yeah.
is another fascinating thing to look at. I mean, you've got guys like Rauno Heinle deadlifts 1,050 sumo, never trained sumo, but he put the bumpers on and deadlifts over 1,000 sumo. And this
Yep.
guy from Iran just posted doing over 1,000 for 4 reps. It's
Yep.
just insanity of what these
You even
guys
look
are
at
able to
like
get to.
guys like when Brian Shaw put on that strongman competition with the Hummer tractor tires. Did you watch JP Carroll like absolutely destroy 1208?
Oh, crazy.
Like
Crazy.
he was good for another like 50 pounds. Like, where is this guy coming from? And little did they like if you watch the progression, they started at 800 pounds, 881, and then to 1200. He might have, I think JP like skipped one round, like from like 9 to 1,000 or something like that. But he still did 3 lifts at over 1,000 before he did the 12. So like these guys are getting to the point of like their strength is just astronomical. You can't deny how good they're getting and how healthy they still are, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at the international strongman competitions when they do a max deadlift, like a rising bar max deadlift. By the time they're done, these guys have done 3, 4, 5 deadlifts over 800 pounds in an hour.
Yep.
Just the strength and the durability that they're getting to, the levels of strength and durability that they're getting to now in strongman is really impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we've been talking for almost an hour. I think that's a good spot to leave off for tonight.
All right. Sounds good to me.
I don't. It's only 6:30 out where you're at, but it's 9:30 here, and I've got an
Yeah.
early morning. So,
Oh,
Nick,
for sure, man.
thanks for coming on. You like your brother. I hope we get to talk again for sure. Um, I love talking powerlifting, especially things like equipped powerlifting that I haven't done. Uh, so,
Uh-huh.
so thanks for coming on and sharing your knowledge and your experience on the Atlantic Strong podcast.
All right. Thanks for the opportunity. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.